A good way to protect your young crop or to extend your seasons is this floating row covers. In this case, right underneath this floating row cover, we have basil plants. Down in along there, all the way down, there's young basil plants that were transplanted in here, and they were able to get out early when there was still a potential for a freeze, covered with this row cover, and then just dirt piled up on that. As the plants get a little bit bigger, this row cover will be removed and the plants will be ready to go in the open. This is a good way to start many plants. It keeps insects off of them and protects them from the elements. Okay, this is an experiment that I did. This is frost cloth. Underneath there's a couple trash cans that are supporting the frost cloth, and then I have it weighted down with some soil on either side, some rocks and stuff. Underneath there is black plastic, and so I'm gonna take a look. The problem with this, my bright idea, and the reason I did this is because in an organic setting you can just see how the weeds are getting out of control and the pests. I've shown you a ton of pests. So I'm eliminating pests, I'm shading the ground a little bit, but then I have plastic to hold moisture and also keep weeds from growing. And you can see the difference between the weed-free over here, nice uniform plants, and the work that needs to be done. You can see the crops, there's carrots in there, but there's purslane all in between. The other thing of interest is these were the potatoes that I was planting. So you can see those potatoes there are growing under black plastic right there. Those potatoes are not under black plastic, that's just in soil. And so same potatoes, just got a head start. These ones just got a head start because of the extra warmth provided in the spring. Here is my strawberry crop. I got individual plants. I've punched them into this plastic to help protect from weeds. That's been good and bad, mixed results. I'm starting to get some nice strawberries here, the ones that are held up and protected by some foliage somewhat. But the individual strawberries that were down close to the black plastic got that reflected heat, and these are just crisped up and dried up. I mean, I guess if you want dehydrated strawberries, you can do it yourself right on black plastic in the sun. Now the plants are doing really well, and they're starting to send out runners. These runners can be used for additional propagation. This is a clone of the parent plant, so I can cut this off and plant more plants. Once this gets covered with foliage, it'll be a lot better shaded and the strawberries will do better. But until then, they're kind of just baking here in the sun. But here's some nice strawberries. The reason for the plastic is to protect against the weeds and hold in the finally moisture. Growing some decent strawberries. I don't normally, but here's some strawberries, and this is kind of odd being fall, but this is an ever-blooming type strawberry with this plastic mulch down. The plants themselves are just really going nuts. They're still blooming, lots of flowers, and then they're sending out these runners. So as far as asexual reproduction goes, when this runner comes out, sets a plant, this touches moist soil like this one is doing. Now you see roots. If I separate the stem, now you see roots, a new baby plant, and then you see another runner coming off of that one with a plant. So I'm just going to find an area here where I don't have a strawberry plant, and I'm going to stick this one in. I'm just expanding my strawberry patch. And again, I got strawberries all the way down in this area. And I see, I mean, that's pretty decent for an Arizona outdoor strawberry. Look at that. Ooh, baby. That's probably the best strawberry I've ever grown. So I think I'll eat this one right now. Another thing you can do in the winter to extend your growing season, I showed you already the greenhouse. This is off to the east side of the greenhouse, so it gets morning sun all the way until midday. These are just some big horse troughs. There's some water drinkers. You can get these at any of your local hardware stores. But it was too cold just out in the regular garden area to keep my arugula crop growing, so I did some arugula here, and it's already starting to bolt and go to seed. This is an heirloom variety of arugula, so I'm going to let these go to seed, collect the seed, and then plant again. And I also had some cilantro going in here. There's a little bit of grasses and stuff also coming up, competing with the cilantro. But in this metal horse trough off the east side of the greenhouse, temperatures have been quite a bit warmer, so plants in here have been spared the brunt of the winter, and it's allowed for some of these very cold tolerant varieties to keep going. So the coldest winter temperature we've had here so far has been about 15 degrees to this point, and these things look pretty good. Here's another with some, we got some nice radishes going in here, and because it's in this metal tub off this east side of the greenhouse wall, it stayed a little bit warmer for those radishes to keep developing. And then I planted baby carrots, and I actually planted these in December. I showed you the outside carrots that were planted in October. Because they're in this warmer situation, they're growing quite a bit. Okay, so here we are at the tub. I showed you 6 weeks ago there was arugula in here. I harvested all the arugula and I came back in with bok choy. These little bok choy make great leafy greens, especially when you harvest them about that size. The cilantro is still going strong. It's getting close. Some of it here is starting to get to the stage where it wants to bolt. Once it goes into bolt, it's not as good, but a lot of this is still leafy, so I'm going to keep cutting off of that and promoting new growth. I also wanted to show you here into these tanks, I ran lines in that are just these 1/4 inch lines. They're like drip lines, but you can see the inset, the drip emitters that are set in there, and so you can see this line is just dripping along and watering here. It's great for small containers, small gardens. You wouldn't want to do this over a large expanse because the 1/4 inch can't carry that much flow, but for the size of this tub, it's just perfect. Still the middle of winter, and I'm itching to do some stuff, so I'm going to get out. I got these garlic bulbs. I had put my garlic sets in here, but what I've done is taken the clove, breaking it up into individual pieces here. Most bulbs you'll get about 10 cloves. These ones are pretty big, so I only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of that one. And what I'm going to do is I made these holes here. I'm going to jam those down in there, cover them up, jam them down in, cover them up, and cover them up. And I just made the holes with just a regular bar. Jam it in, wiggle it around, makes a nice little hole for planting garlic right here next to the drip line. And then again, these shriveled up, dried up are the onion sets, or the garlic sets we were starting about a week ago. Okay class, today we're in a small hobby greenhouse that provides the needs of one family, maybe 2 families with veggies. This is the middle of the winter, coldest time of the winter. It's pretty much functional inside this small hobby greenhouse. It's not a greenhouse that you're going to keep the temperatures between 65, 70, 80 degrees. It's more of a greenhouse that you're going to keep it from freezing at night, and then keep it from trying to get up way above 100 in the daytime. So I'll show you some of the things in this greenhouse and some of the things you could grow with a simple hoop house, cold frame, etc. in the wintertime. This greenhouse does have an electric heater that provides, again, those temperatures from keeping it too cold, and we also have some large tubs of water as a water base to keep some retained heat and also some retained cooling during the day to keep the humidity up in here. So I'll show you what Okay, it's late summer, and I chose in the middle of summer to seed out some tomatoes. I have some different yellow pear and cherry varieties here. I chose to put these into the greenhouse setting, and they're going to grow like crazy. But the deal is outside, when we get a freeze in October, beginning of November, tomatoes would die and freeze out. But here in the controlled system, I can keep them going through the winter, and now they have a really big head start. These plants are very vigorous, lots of flowers, lots of tomatoes will result here all winter long, which is a nice commitment for space. I'm going to have to stick in some posts, run some twine around to hold them up off so they don't just hang down on the ground. Okay, the setup for this greenhouse is we built this 2x6 plank boards. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these boards stacked up. On the inside, it's supported by these posts. They're sunk in the ground to help stabilize this. This is really secure. Inside, it's lined with weed fabric just to keep it clean and to keep the any type of boring insects off of this wood. I've set up the interior with a mixture. This is just a mixture of outdoor garden soil, and then it's been amended with organic steer manure. Actually, I'm pulling up some roots here, but this is a mixture of steer manure, pine bark, field soil, and it's a pretty decent mix. The irrigation system into each one of these beds, I've plumbed in a 1-inch line. This is a little bit overkill. We don't need a 1-inch line. 1/2 inch or 3/4 would be fine. There's an automated valve, so this can come on through the timer. The electric wires run back to a small timer that runs each of these beds individually. And then I just have this converted to poly. This is poly drip line. And then I've connected it to this line. This is a 1/2 inch line, and it has preset emitters. You can see it inside. These preset emitters will, every about 18 inches, they'll put down a gallon of water based on how long I run it for, so a gallon per hour. And then I run these lines systematically through the bed. You can see 3 lines there.